Leave me alone.
Azelle, give me strength.
I can't help.
The Last Goodbye is a Half-Life 1 total conversion mod that I don't think you want to miss. Not only is this game a pretty good time, it's also a breath of fresh air in the landscape of like Half-Life 1 mods as of late. I do enjoy a simple Half-Life but you play as the postal dude instead type of mod. It is pretty fun.
That's gonna be sore tomorrow.
But after a while, it's really all the same. Even the original story mods basically repeat the same ideas and themes as base Half-Life. After 30 years, you would really expect to see more Gold Source games come up with more unique things to do, but instead, it feels stagnant the more you look at it. Though it's obviously not perfect, the first act of The Last Goodbye is a phenomenal step into a direction that I want to see more of these projects going. In The Last Goodbye, you play as Lucille Ellison, also known as the Banshee, an average tavern owner by day and a notorious mercenary at night, as she embarks on one of her most dangerous missions yet, taking out Bullseye, another highly capable mercenary and gangster, and you know, you name it. That's the main bad guy. He's like scary, he's got an eye patch. To do this, of course, she's gonna need to go through an entire army's worth of henchmen, gangsters, and off-leash pit bulls? That may sound like it's gonna be another big bullet spongy run through the level, kill everything in sight, solve a puzzle, and move on with the adventure kind of time, but this time set in a Victorian Gothic city instead of another secret lab in the middle of nowhere. And listen, it can definitely be that if you want it to be, but this game does a couple of things differently and well enough that it'll definitely make a long-lasting impression on you. The first thing that's gonna jump out at you when playing is just how gorgeous the world is. The architecture, the lighting, the foliage, you know, however little foliage there actually is in the city, and the amazing color palette that pops out while still keeping the dim, gothic essence of the city of Prava. The game's release article even has extra behind-the-scenes details, and you can really tell that this was made by somebody who knows ball. They share some reference photos they took to work into the game, saying it was a key choice to make Prava feel grounded in reality, despite its gothic fairy tale nature. There's not much I can say that isn't already conveyed through what you're seeing on screen right now. It's just that beautiful. This city genuinely just puts Gotham to shame. Even the crime rate is higher and the residents more miserable. Half the people you meet are wearing hazard suits everywhere. Like, is the air just that polluted or are they still on the clock? What's going on here? The character models are so pretty and well textured that you almost forget how low poly they are. They definitely benefit from how dark everything is in the game, kind of like, you know, the Alien in Alien 1 where it's like really like the worst costume ever, but there's just enough shadows that it looks okay. It looks scary. Even then though, the style they're going for really works. Everything's just so fun to look at. Clearly a lot of care was put into these character designs and model work. There's a great bit you can read in the launch article about Lucille's design. I already really liked her, but now she can definitely beat the shit out of me and I'd still thank her for it. Despite all of this, I do still have some issues with the visuals, like how for some reason the game defaults to this black and white mode on launch, which, don't get me wrong, looks insanely good. You can absolutely tell that they color coded every texture in the area of this game to look fantastic on either visual setting, but you really do miss out on a lot in black and white, and it will make you use your flashlight a lot more than is necessary in color mode. The only real advantage you get by playing like this is that enemies are slightly easier to see since they tend to wear brighter stuff. When it comes down to it, enemies really do have a bit of a problem due to the visuals as well, since most of the colors in this game are pitch black, dark blue, dark red, and a couple golden highlights here and there. Everything on screen tends to mush together in a weird way during more intense combat sections, or just when you're running around, so it can be really hard to see them. I guess the black and white overall makes the game more cohesive gameplay-wise sometimes, at least for me, but I'd still recommend disabling it at first to enjoy the absolute gothic nature and beauty of Prava in all of its 4 shades of blue and violet, and maybe after that you can do your next run in black and white to see the difference. Gameplay-wise, I am definitely a little bit mixed. The movement and basic gunplay is pretty solid, don't get me wrong. I like that the sprinting isn't another weird attempt to make it feel like Source 2 sprinting. Sliding is really fun, and it actually seems to make enemies miss their shots more often, like crouching did in Blood, but shooting can sometimes feel a little odd and unresponsive, especially when you're taking down somebody from behind. Sometimes a guy will take 2 or 3 shots to the back of the head to go down, and other times you can one-tap them from the other side of town, and that's something you're gonna have to do a lot, because if you want to avoid taking damage, you'll have to slowly examine every area and snipe out all the guys holding rifles on your first run, because these guys hit hard, like way too hard sometimes. It doesn't help that they're kind of hard to see. They also have some actually evil positioning at times. You'll be dealing with dogs and dudes charging at you with lead pipes, only to get sniped by another guy on top of a bridge 50 feet in the air away from you. There is actually a pretty cool mechanic that lets you prepare for any enemy encounters by being able to listen in on their conversations before, entering a room, or the growling to let you know that there's a dog around the corner. But there's a bit of an issue where bigger groups of enemies will just sit around yelling their voice lines at each other on repeat, which gets really loud and annoying, and I don't think it's supposed to be like that. Despite the kind of arsenal you can carry, this isn't really the kind of game that for now rewards you for going in guns blazing too much. You've got to be tactical about each enemy encounter if you want to avoid being on 5 HP the whole time. Thankfully, the Banshee has the incredible ability to lean from left to right, allowing her to peek around corners and take care of everyone there with basically zero risk. This kind of turns the game though into a weird cover stealth shooter sometimes, because this is really the optimal playstyle to avoid dying while still moving through the game at a good pace. Once you know the enemy placement well, you can definitely slide around every corner and destroy everyone in your path, but it doesn't feel the best way to go about it, because the level design kind of feels like I'm encouraged to sneak around and take people out one at a time instead, but doing that at the moment isn't really the most fun either. Maybe this is actually intended since you're not given a lot of ammo for weapons like the shotgun, but still, while it's fun, it feels like something is missing. And maybe it's because this game kind of reminds me of Fallen Aces so much. I'm expecting better stealth mechanics, or maybe a better ability to stand my ground against a bigger group of enemies. But not only is this a bit much for a game made in Gold Source, so I'm not expecting anything too crazy, I don't think The Last Goodbye is trying to be an immersive sim. It does have a lot of elements like secret routes that allow you to approach situations in many different ways, but outside of the couple areas that are super accessible, but ultimately dead ends, it's still pretty linear. I did get lost a couple of times, notably at this part where you get the dynamite, then have to blow a hole through this facility to get out. Except I went up those stairs instead and got turned around. Then noticed this ladder had now unlocked, making me think that somehow the explosion was part of a puzzle to gain access to this upper area where all these enemies used to be. And yeah, I ended up circling through the entire map until I realized that I was supposed to follow the bright, obvious green light through that door. Again, this game is very linear, but these levels have unique routes that all lead to the same goal, and you don't really get rewarded for going out of your way to explore all of them. So maybe that was my fault there for not paying enough attention on my first run, but still I would like it a bit better if all of these areas had some kind of reward for taking them. Like, that upper area really doesn't do anything for you. Like, you can take out the goons that were like standing on these bridges, but then you can't really access the rooms beyond them. It would be cool if, like, if you go up there you can take out these guys more practically and then have access to, I don't know, some health or something, or some ammo behind them. I don't know, just give me a reason to go there. This actually reminds me of a small pet peeve I had with the combat. This might be in the plans for Act 2, but it would probably be more fun if instead of peeking around all the corners to avoid getting domed and kind of wasting these great combat arena opportunities, Lucille had some kind of special ability, like maybe bullet time? I think you could get the best out of both worlds out of that. Like, you would still get the more slow and steady tactical aspect where you look around corners, take in how many enemies and where, take out the first guy, the rest gets alerted, then you can slide in from a safe spot with some bullet time or something to help you take out more guys in precise shots while you move through the areas. I don't know, it might be a bit much or out of character, but I think something like that would stop enemies' encounters from turning into halt all progress, peek around the corner, shoot the 2 targets before continuing. Once everyone is dead, progress through the now empty arena. Like at that point, you might as well just give her a silent sniper rifle, which I guess the rifle is a sniper rifle. I mean, that scope is pretty crazy, but you know what I mean. Going back to the release article, I don't think a special ability like that would be too much for the game to handle, since Lucille actually used to be able to wall run. I can't imagine any area in the released version of Act 1 where that'd be useful, but surely this means she was intended to have a wider range of abilities, so a little power-up like that wouldn't be so bad and would help shake things up a little bit in the repetitive combat cycle. Because not only do players like to take risk and get rewarded for it, that way future encounters could include more interesting elements in the future, like at that part where you get the shotgun and then these two guys just show up behind you out of nowhere. I really want more stuff like that. That's a fun combat encounter that requires me to think fast. Although the AI still is in Gold Source, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Now, without really getting too deep into the plot, this is where The Last Goodbye, I think, shines a little more. This guy, Ark McLean, puts a hit on the feared and unkillable gangster called Bullseye. Lucille then sets out to get Bullseye's location through his second-in-command, a really loudmouth gangster called Jaeger. She gets captured, but then somewhat rescued by this guy called Danny Monroe, who keeps an eye on her for McLean, and from there she has to fight her way back to Jaeger, who is trying to escape through the industrial district in the dark Gothic and 60s Americana-inspired city of Prava. I'm not too particularly in love with like the plot or all these characters necessarily for now. It's a pretty typical 60s mobster kind of story with a private investigators and hitman, Tommy guns and whatnot, but no, it's more so the overall vibe, atmosphere, and the way the story is delivered that I find fantastic. It feels like I'm watching a pilot for a really cool show. You might think that cutscenes in Half-Life mods, especially on Gold Source, never work because, well, for one, it goes against the in-game storytelling of those games. You know, that's kind of like the whole thing with Half-Life, which, true, but this very much is its own thing, its own game, so I don't think that applies here. It's especially that in-engine cutscenes in these Gold Source games never look very good because camera movements are stiff, character models are very limited, and the audio balancing is a nightmare. So, to remedy this, some mods like to have pre-recorded cutscenes or a wall of text like in Quake, or just narrated slideshows, which is technically what The Last Goodbye does, but with a little bit more sauce. I'm really getting a lot of mileage out of that release article, but in it, they say that the cutscenes are based on the telesnap reconstructions of those missing 60s Doctor Who episodes, and it doesn't just look cool, it's kind of genius. This way, they can still use the same character models in those cutscenes and still have their faces be expressive, give them cool poses, have great handle on the lighting. Like, I don't know if this is really all that crazy, but to me, this is very impressive for something made in Gold Source. This game really wears its inspirations on its sleeve proudly and translates this style perfectly into the game engine. The fact that this was originally meant to be a TV show only makes more sense the more you play it. This adventure is really just one of the many different episodes in the Benchy's life. And honestly, I hope this can be made into an actual TV show one day. This finally might be the weird gothic revival that those 60s Euro spy and British TV sci-fi dramas actually deserve. Another little note that I'd like to add is that every character is voiced by a real human being. Like, I wish this wasn't something that needed to be celebrated nowadays, but especially in the landscape of Half-Life mods recently, this needs to be praised. And they're all really good performances too. Of course, it's not the most professional acting I've ever heard, but it's good.
I need to find Jaeger. He's my ticket to hunting down Bullseye.
Bullseye? Are you nuts?
Accents are a little bit all over the place, making me wonder where this story is actually taking place, but overall, it doesn't really impact anything. And as a side note, it's always so much better when people actually voice for their games. Here's Half-Life Delta Particles, for example, a mod that's been on Steam for a while now.
Until now, our teleportation technology had two major drawbacks. Firstly, we could only teleport small materials, and secondly, only one person could be sent to the border road at a time.
It's pretty clear that English isn't their first language, but honestly, this is way more endearing and charming and fun than any time I hear fucking 11 Labs try to talk to me.
Need a phone? There's an old one behind the parking lot.
And another one got into my trap. Oh wait, it's you. I've seen you on cameras a bunch of times now.
What the hell?
I don't care if you're just using it for now until you get real voice actors, just voice it all yourself for now. It's not like Gold Source is capable of playing audio with super high and accurate quality anyways, plus it sets a bad precedent for the rest of your game. If you didn't care enough to the point of AI generating voices, then what else is AI generated? Can I even trust that the textures were made legitimately? That's also part of why I've been struggling to trust mods that try to go for more hyper-realistic looks, and it's also why I love The Last Goodbye stylization so much more. You can tell all of this is a labor of love. Like, genuinely, for free. This is crazy. For free. There's even a Chapter 0 which serves as a training level where you can explore Lucille's house. I am very biased about this because I love when a game just lets me look through a character's bedroom especially. I don't know, there's something very sweet and deeply interesting to me about it, but this level is where you can actually get to know Lucille a bit better, take a look through the streets she lives on, what she thinks of the neighbors, meet her cat who is super important to her, and she's even got a James Bondian car full of gadgets that we unfortunately don't get to see in action yet, but maybe in a future chapter? I don't know. Let's hope so. Overall, I'm really excited to see where this project is going to go next. I'm really more of a fan of this world as a whole than the game itself for now, which could still potentially change since we've only got our hands on the first 2 chapters. For now, I would give this a 7 out of 10, but with some tweaks to the actual combat or maybe a better focus on stealth, this could easily turn into one of my favorites. Either way, The Last Goodbye is a great introduction to the world that Smokey Chief has been crafting for a decade, it seems, and whatever else comes next, a comic, a TV show, a web series, I'll be there to support it, and you should be there too.
I'm on top of the world!
I'll show up. Oh, it's a TF2 Gold Rush player meeting. Yeah. Okay.